Good morning again. Nice to see you all, have you all here. This is from Whispers from Eternity, Paramhansa Yogananda's book of prayer poems. And this one is, Demand that through all tests and trials, the love of God may never fade. Even the title is inspiring just in itself. So here's the poem. O Spirit, I care not if all sufferings come to me, or all things be taken away from me. I pray only that my love for Thee never fade through my own negligence. May my love for Thee burn brightly forever on the altar of my constant remembrance. And this reading is from Rays of the One Light, which are parallel commentaries on the Bible and Bhagavad Gita. Hello there. On the parallel commentaries on the Bible and Bhagavad Gita by Paramhansa Yogananda. Why tell God anything when He knows everything? Why offer God anything when He has everything? Again, another inspiring title. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda. Jesus Christ teaches as the ideal prayer one that addresses very human demands to God. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our debts as we forget our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Jesus himself says, just before suggesting this prayer, Your Father knoweth what things ye have need of, before ye ask Him. Why, then, His recommendation that we pray for anything? The answer is that we should offer ourselves up in acceptance of His abundance. Don't pester God as though pulling constantly on His sleeve to get His attention. Approach Him with the confidence of a child in its parent. And in that spirit, then, ask Him lovingly, but with complete trust, as though demanding your birthright, and without the slightest doubt in your mind that He wants only your best. For you don't have to persuade Him the way a beggar or a stranger might. You are His own child. God knows everything already. He knows what is in your heart. It is you who need to clarify your feelings, that you attune yourself to Him in turn more clearly. For only by such clarity will you be able to receive perfectly what He gives you. For the same reason, we need to offer ourselves to Him, not because He needs anything from us, except, as Yogananda said, our love, to complete His love for us, but because by self-giving, we expand our awareness from its confinement in the little ego outward to infinity. Those who partake of the nectar remaining after a sacrifice, says the Bhagavad Gita in the 4th chapter, attain to the infinite spirit. That person, however, who makes no sacrifices, never truly succeeds in enjoying even the blessings of this material world. How then could he attain happiness in subtler realms? Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om, Om, Om. It's interesting that this is today's topic. Why pray to God? Why ask Him for anything when He knows everything? In other words, why tell Him anything when He knows everything? Why offer Him anything when He has everything? Again, as Master said, God has everything except our love, which is a very sweet thought, because we know He is everything, and we know that He has everything. He even has us, and you'd better believe it, because sometimes we make all plans and all sorts of things that are worked out carefully, and Divine Mother says, the Veendam. And whatever she wants, that's what we get. And so, but God doesn't have our love. And this is a very sweet thing, because God has given us the free will either to accept Him or to reject Him. And so that's really our only freedom, is to move towards God or move away from God. That's it. And so it gives us the right sense of free will, because free will doesn't mean doing whatever it is that I want. This is especially the fact of free will especially comes into question when you think of these predictive astrology readings, and especially Nadi astrology like Agastya or Bhrigu. Swamiji had a Bhrigu reading, and it told things all about his life. It was written long ago. And it told him things about his life he didn't even know. His mother had lost one child in pregnancy, it said. He didn't know that. He asked his mother, and she said, yes, she had a miscarriage. And so it was one thing to sort of maybe do some research on Google when you see the person coming in and then saying all things about them. But there was no Google then. And in this case, how could they learn something from him that he himself didn't know? And so, but if that much could be predicted in advance, it does make us start to worry about, well, what freedom do we have? As he said, you can't select in the morning what outfit you're going to wear and then at the last minute change and grab, I picked a different one. No, God saw that one too. He knew you were going to make that change also. But we can either turn towards God in any situation, or we can turn away. And the beautiful thing about it is that it frees us from a lot of worry. It frees us from a lot of sense of control. If things are going badly, as we read in the Living Wisely, Living Well statement for today, just have a sense of humor about it. Just, well, Divine Mother, what a beautiful disaster I have created. Or how, if I could have imagined the opposite of what I wanted, this would have been it. Find some way to laugh at it. I had a friend. There's another practical teaching in this, that when you do everything you possibly can. I said this to a friend of mine who was nervous about a presentation he had to make to the sort of global head of whatever it was. And I said, listen, prepare yourself. Yes. Go in there confident. Yes. I said, do your double breathing. Go in with energy. He said, absolutely. And if you can meditate just before so you can be centered. He said, I will. I said, and then if it all falls apart anyway. And he said, what? I said, well, if it all falls apart anyway, you will know that you did everything you possibly could. And there will be peace in that. And he said, okay. I don't know if he really liked that. But the fact of it is that it's true. And Swamiji has said this, especially when the tides of karma are against you, when everything in a situation seems to not be working, misunderstanding, different kinds of trouble. You put out all this energy and it sort of hits with a dull thud or something. Then put out every ounce of strength you have, especially at that moment when you might break. Just sometimes it's that little extra push that changes everything, and it's that little voice inside that says, oh, come on, you've worked hard enough, you should rest now, and besides, what's the big deal? I had that experience just yesterday. It was a long, without going into the whole thing, it was a long push, and at the end of it I thought, I think that's enough for now. And then I saw the last little bit, and I just thought, just finish it. I was remembering that scene of Master and Swamiji where Master was trying to flick the fork into the glass, and then finally the fork flipped into the glass and the glass broke, and I was feeling a little bit like the glass at that last night myself. And then Master said, but I got it in. And Swamiji said, he's teaching me that whenever I start something I should finish it. And so last night I pushed through and finished it anyway. And so, sorry, I didn't get much rest. That was a joke. But there was a consequence of working hard to finish that thing, not a lot of sleep. However, there is a certain peace that it's done. Why should we finish something? Why should we push on to the end? When we have a partially completed project, we have allocated energy to it that is frozen. Whether it's actual sort of energy, whether it's our mind thinking, gotta finish that. Hi, how are you? Gotta finish that. What? I'm busy thinking about what I should be doing. You see, we've put a part of our mind on that project. And when we finally finish it, all that energy comes back to us. Of course, it is possible mentally to just say, I won't think about it, it's sitting on a shelf, especially when you can't do anything about it. Suppose there's some project coming up that you have to give energy to, but the time has not come yet. There's no point in thinking, that's coming, I am going to have to do that, I'm going to have to file my ITR in 2029. Just wait. Don't worry too much about that. As Swamiji has said, save future problems to be solved by future energy. Have the confidence that I have had the energy in the past to do what I needed to do, even by the skin of my teeth, as we say. But probably then in the future, there will be some energy, I hope, to let me accomplish what I have to do then, rather than me worrying about it right now. Because worry accomplishes nothing. And the trick of it is that worry makes us feel like we are accomplishing something. You know, I've been very busy worrying about this. But all it does is affect our health, our nerves, and so on. And in some real way, worry implies a lack of trust in God. If your child came to you and said, I'm worried that tomorrow there will be no dosa, you say, my gosh, rain, shine, monsoon, power, no power, there will be dosa. Give us this day our daily dosa, our daily idli. That's the version of the prayer we read earlier. And if the child every day said, I'm worried there's no food, you say, what's the matter with you? Hasn't there been food till now? I'll take care of it. You'll have the food until you get old enough to cook for yourself. And then, thank you, I'll have a dosa from you. So the child is going to be taken care of. And so we are that child. Divine Mother is taking care. The sun came up this morning. Did you do anything particular to help it to rise? No. Did someone remember to pray last night? Let the sun come up? I hope somebody did. Otherwise God may change his mind. No. The sun will come up. So, when we how did I get here? Let's see. I remember sort of 2 thoughts ago, but not 1 thought ago. Anyway, hopefully it will all come together at the end. But the point is, we have to do everything that we can in a situation to change it, to affect it, to move it to the positive. And right when we feel like, maybe I should give up, try one more time. Because if you do give up then and it doesn't work out, we'll have that nagging doubt. I wonder if I had done that last thing, maybe it would have changed. But if we do everything we can think of, and still it doesn't work out, we have peace. We really do. I did everything I could. And then if someone says, you should have thought of that, and even if they're right, we'll say, well, maybe I should have, but I didn't. But whatever I did think of, I tried. And then that energy that we put out is not wasted. The strength that we developed by working when circumstances were against us is retained. We save that strength. It helps us to grow strength. Actually, as it says in the Festival of Light ceremony, that even fear, like shadows in a statue, gives light and substance to hope. That God's tests, I'm not remembering the exact words now, but anyway, that life's challenges are God's way of giving us strength and courage. You see? We develop that strength. It's not so much what we do and what the outcome of the exam is, but what we become. You see? If you study so hard for an exam and you don't do well on the exam, and then you look at the mistakes you made, and then sometimes, if it's true, if you've had this experience, seeing, That was the answer. I knew that. And then you never forget it. If nothing else, just because of pride. Just, I'm so mad that I forgot that. I won't forget it ever. And you learned that thing the most that you made the mistake on. And some of those other things may have drifted away from memory, but that one, fifth standard, I was doing some division and I did, I'm never going to forget that. You see what I mean? It's what we become. It's not the result in the moment. What's the ultimate proof of this? Death. When we die, it all goes. The exam is over. And one way or another, we're exiting the classroom. But what we have learned stays with us. Now, how do you know? Well, first of all, Krishna says so we have it on good authority. Jesus says so again, we have another good authority. The masters show us and tell us by their own memory of their past lives, but even we have, if not conscious, at least unconscious memories of our past lives. How do we know? Well, what inclines us to like something or to dislike something? You see, some people love beetroot. I don't know how, but they tell me that they do. I don't like it. But why shouldn't I like it? You see? And why should someone else like it? I mean, it's easy. If you taste it, you would understand why you could not like it. No, I'm joking. One teacher was teasing his students at Ananda village, saying that the student was saying, I like pickles, and he was saying, pickles are no good. And so she was saying, no, but everybody can like whatever they want. And he said, it is a mark of spiritual advancement to dislike pickles. He was just joking. So then Swami Kriyananda came to visit the school, and he said, do you have any questions? Is it true that if you don't like pickles, then it means you're spiritually advanced? And Swamiji said, well, I must be very spiritually advanced. He said, I don't like them. And he was, of course, it was just a joke. And so I'm not commenting on beetroot, but I think you get the idea. No, I'm kidding. So, with beets, why should one like it and another dislike it? I'm convinced that my last life was in the Ukraine. And I had beets galore, and now I can't stand them anymore. But it's just a thought that I make up to amuse myself. But again, why should we think yoga and meditation are useful? Why should we think that when there isn't peace in my outward life, I should seek that peace inside? Why not try to solve it outwardly? If the outward problem is in front of us, fix that, which means fix that person. Make them stop talking in this way. Fix that boss and get an increment also along with it. Fix this corporation problem with no water on my street. Just go to the office and say, please, have water, send us the water. That'll work, maybe. And so we learn that no, we have to solve it inside. Why? Some of us just feel that. And others of us have tried 1,000 times with 1,000 different people, 1,000 visits to the government offices, and 1,000 other things. Still, it doesn't work. And we also discover that, when I'm in a good mood, nothing really bothers me. Even if there is a big problem, I say, oh, well, that's okay. Everybody has to pay off some karma. I guess I'm paying off some today. Here you go. No problem. And when we're in a bad mood, even good news can be depressing. Did you hear that wonderful thing? Yes, I did, but it won't last. It's like we're committed to worrying about something. We're committed to fear of pain. And so we've learned that if we can work ourselves out, then it doesn't really matter. We're independent of the external circumstances. And more than that, ourselves are the only thing we have a shot of working out at all. We can't change people that easily. How do we know? Because we see that they try to change us. And it also doesn't work that easily. Because we have to follow what we think is true. That's your duty in life. Not to know the highest truth. That's our ultimate duty, sure. But our daily duty is to do what we think is right. Even if you find out later it wasn't right, you will still have the peace of knowing that you did what you thought was right. But if we do what we know isn't right, it cuts away at that peace. And then, remember, that's a part of life. Not doing the right thing, even knowing that we're not doing the right thing, is a part of life too. And to say, Lord, help me to do better. So it's. I don't mean to be hard on yourself if you ever do something that you know it isn't right. Master said, don't criticize yourself. Don't beat up on yourself. However, he said, acknowledge that what you did was wrong. Don't pretend that it wasn't. As Swamiji said, God, I offer myself completely, but I hope he didn't see that thing that I just did. He sees everything. He said, even give your mistakes to him. Even blame him for your mistakes. And it took me a while to sort of wrap my mind around that. That he did it through me, that seems like, okay, now we have a blank check. Now we can do anything and say, God did it. In fact, I have a friend who likes to say that. God did it. And let's just say it doesn't feel so good when somebody goes, God did it. As Swamiji said in one case, in the case like that, don't overlook your own responsibility in the matter. But going back again to our original thought, that we need to grow in this life regardless of what happens outwardly, because that growth is our only possession, our only treasure that survives death. Our understanding, why is it that even with, you might see in children, that just in the process of their education, some have an understanding of certain subjects that others don't. But they've been basically given the same education, even in the same family. Some have an understanding, perhaps, of the relationships or how to work with people, and others don't. And so again, it's just a skill that one has developed one way or another. Sorry, I'm trying to put this phone on silent here. So why should they? You see, if we all start out as blank slates, then everybody should more or less learn in the same way at the same time. We see that in ourselves, in adulthood, that even with similar experiences, one will react in this way, one in the other. Why? And to me, the simplest explanation is just because we arrive with different levels of understanding. We don't have to think of it as how highly advanced is the soul when they come in. Just some things one person has learned, some things another person has learned. Swami Yoganandaji said, don't envy another person for their karma, for their life circumstances. He said, because if you could see past the eyeballs into the karma, you would be very glad for your own karma. And so it can seem like that somebody has one thing that you like, and you say, oh, I wish I could be like that person or have their life. But remember, it's a package deal. You get the whole thali. You don't get to say just the Mysore pak, please. You get the whole thing. The bitter gourd that's especially bitter today, and all the rest, you get it all. And so we don't get to pick and choose. And so therefore we might say, actually, maybe you see that person is still learning something you've already learned. And so you don't really feel like going through those experiences again. You want to go forward from where you are, in your totality, not just in this one dimension. That's one reason I can justify or understand Master's statement. The only justification of his statement is he made it. So that's enough justification, however, to understand it, if it isn't obvious. Because then I thought, I'm looking at the other person and going, oh, actually, never mind. I'll take the life that I have. I don't want your life. The problem is they're saying the same thing to me. That they look at me and kind of go, ooh, I'm good the way I am. Everybody feels that about each other because we are in some ways unique. Our challenges are unique to us. We can learn from other people's experiences, sure, but we are on our own path. And God has you on the fastest path that you can be on to get home. He wants us home much more than even we want to go home. He wants us more. So don't worry that, oh, someone seems to have this advantage or someone seems to get all of the whatever. What if by not getting the praise, for example, that everybody seems to get except you, what if that's the one thing you need to overcome to find freedom? What if it were that? Then would it be helpful to get all kinds of praise and just push the test aside for years and years when you could have God or have growth now? So it is what we become, and this is why we have to tell God everything, because it is in our telling of it, even in our voicing of it, that we grow, even to explain what the problem is. If we just pray, God bless me, thanks, we're not necessarily being very sincere, very present, saying, I can't pray too much because I'm worried about this situation. Well, then pray about that. Say, Lord, I am worried about this, and there's nothing I can do about it. Can you be there? Bless that person during their surgery, if it's something like that. Bless this situation. Help the people, because all I can do is worry about it. That brings him into where our minds actually are. You see, that's why it's helpful to pray. He knows everything. He's going to take care of everything. But again, even is that completely true? In the sense that, God, I'm hungry. It doesn't work. Unless you have a particularly kind mother or something like that who just drops poti idlis into the mouth and then moves the jaw to chew. As Master said, you can't sit idle. The good Lord has given you hunger. You see, what if we say, I will never act? This hunger builds up. I will never act, but it's lunchtime, so I have to do something. That hunger impels us to move. It impels us to seek. It impels us to work. Why should we have to work? Well, we know we have to from below, meaning because we'll starve otherwise. But there's also a higher law, as Sri Yukteswar said, that as long as we breathe the free air of this earth, we are obligated to render grateful service. It is a repayment for the life we've been given. And you could say, well, I don't know, how much repayment? I didn't see any contract when I came in that says you get this much life and this is what the EMI is that you have to pay. So I don't think it's fair. It isn't that we have to pay it back like a debt. It is in the serving, it is in the self-offering that we grow and gain the freedom that we're seeking. It is in that giving that we receive the happiness that we're seeking. Our stomachs may hunger for idli, but the heart hungers for love. It hungers for joy. It hungers for peace. That is a native hunger, as Master said in the book, Autobiography of a Yogi. He said, wisdom is a native hunger. It's something built in. We want to understand what is true. Especially if you do, that makes you a devotee. A devotee wants to know what is true. If we say, it may be true, but I don't care, then we're not yet truth seekers. But a truth seeker is someone seeking the truth, saying, I have to know what is real. I have to know what is true. I have to know what is the purpose of all of this. And if someone says, why? Say, never mind. Because when that awakens in your own heart, then you too will want to seek. It is just a hunger, a feeling. It doesn't have a logical explanation, but it is a fact. So, it is what we become through our prayer. It's sort of like an exam. If a math teacher gives you an exam and says 4 times 7 and you say 28, the math teacher doesn't, you normally say, thank you, and write it, 28, is it? The math teacher knows the answer. And we have all these exams not because the teachers are learning from us, they already know. But it is because of what we learn in the process of doing it. If we have to give a speech, which can be harrowing, it's what we learn in giving of the speech, in the standing up in front of others and surviving. You see, it is how we grow through all of this, even with healing prayers. As Master said, the channel is blessed by that which flows through it. If you act as a channel for blessing, you yourself also are blessed. And so even in praying for others, not even praying for ourselves or asking God for something directly, still we are helped. And that help is permanent. And in fact, there is no other help, no other gain that is permanent. It's the only thing, what you become. That's why also it's helpful to serve, even to serve coffee or murka to somebody. I'm joking, I like murka. So, is that when we give to others, we forget ourselves. we get a little temporary peace from that ego that's always saying me, 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 me. I, mine, and so on. There is a song that Swamiji wrote about this. It's very sweet. It begins, I, my, me, mine, I, my, me, mine, I, my, me, mine, I, my, me, mine, and all these different parts come in. I, my, me, mine, I, my, me, and so on. And it's true. This is basically the song that most people, and sometimes if we're not careful, most of our day is spent. Even my samadhi, my spiritual path, and so on. Swamiji was trying to ask Anandamoy Ma a question about Kriya. But there are many things in India called Kriya, and so he wanted to explain that he meant the Kriya Yoga of Lahiri Mahashaya, the Kriya Yoga technique we practice here. And so he said, what did he say, Ami Kriya? Is that in Bengali? Ami? Ami is my, right? Not me, but yeah. So he said Ami Kriya. I think it doesn't sound right though. Anyway, let's just say, En Kriya. Let's put it in Tamil, but she was speaking Bengali to her. And she said, Ila, En Kriya. She was saying, no, my Kriya. Meaning, Kriya, of course, it belongs to God and belongs to all of us. There's not this technique. And of course, he wasn't meaning it like mine as opposed to. But even in that, it was sweet how she was universalizing it. All these Kriya techniques, they'll all lead us to God. And there's only one God, and we're all heading there. But the problem for the devotee is, I want to be there now. That's again what makes you a devotee. Yes, we're all coming back to God, but how much time is left? Because my heart wants it. As soon as you desire God, you're free. Your freedom is assured. It's scheduled, hopefully for soon. But if not, what does it matter? Because there's more and more joy along the way, not just joy when you get there. So I wanted to expand on one thing, because we're entering into the Christmas season, and this is a time when we like to also explain and share some of the teachings of Jesus Christ, since his birthday is coming up. And what's wonderful is we have Yoganandaji's commentary on these different episodes from the life of Jesus, and this prayer that he gave to his disciples. It is called the Lord's Prayer, and it is a central piece of Christianity, and when it becomes very big and sort of over the millennia, it can seem like, oh my gosh, this just is this massive thing. We have it here in India around the Bhagavad Gita. When I was saying, let's have Bhagavad Gita classes, people, not sure if I could have a Bhagavad Gita. What are you talking about? It's the Gita. It's Krishna talking to Arjuna. It's Babaji talking to Master. What is it? Yes, but don't you have to have a certain IQ to be able to study the Gita? Don't you have to wear full white, preferably Veshti, before you can even touch the book? And don't you have to have it memorized in Sanskrit forwards and backwards? Don't you have to know the numbers of verses of each chapter? And don't you have to be able to say it just right before you can even think to study it? I didn't say through these classes we will all understand the Gita, but we will spend time with it. We will try. We will absorb the vibration. But the Gita is too big for me. The Gita is for you. Even in Master's commentary, he said, there's been so much scholarly whatever about this, I'm not even going to go near that. I'm going to give you the direct revealed truth from Vyasa himself. I sent that out a little while ago. Some of you acknowledged that. There's nothing to be intimidated by. So in the same thing, when we're approaching a tradition that may not be ours, then we have the advantage of just seeing it fresh, without all of this weight of centuries behind it. But we have Master's commentary on the Gita and also on the Bible. So in the Bible, the story is that which I'll sort of explain a little bit. And it came to pass that as Jesus was praying in a certain place, when he stopped, one of his disciples said to him, Lord, teach us to pray, as John also taught his disciples. Here he's referring to John the Baptist, who was another teacher at that time. And Jesus said unto them, When you pray, say, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, which means basically blessed or sacred is thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done, as in heaven, so in earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our sins, for we also forgive everyone that is indebted to us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. So you may have heard this before, but here's Master's explanation. Master says, Jesus is saying this: when you pray, say within your mind, O fountain of all our consciousness, our Father, cosmic consciousness, which is present in the vibrationless region of heavenly bliss, may the cosmic vibrations, thy name, emanating from thee in the earth, be consecrated and used for cultivating thy consciousness, and not material consciousness. Thy name, of course, is said also with sound, and sound is vibration, and vibration is Om. Everything is Om. And this is also when some teachers have taught that only by God's name can you find freedom. There's one teaching of Chaitanya, Harer Nam Kevalam. Only by God's name can you be free. But it isn't, then you have to say, but, end the God's name. Which name is the name that I have to say that will work? Because I've tried 1,000 so far. Hasn't worked. No, it's not that God's name is a particular sound. In fact, it can't be said with the mouth, uttered with the tongue. God's name truly is this vibration. It's the vibration of Om. And when you vibrate with that cosmic sound, then you find God. And that's true, and that's just true, and it's taught in all traditions. Now, if someone says, no, he means Krishna, don't argue. No, he means this or that, it's fine. It's better to say some name of God than other things. But this is the deeper meaning of why it's true beyond any particular name. Let thy wisdom-guided will be the guiding force of deluded earthly people, as thy will is followed by liberated souls in the astral world. Give us our daily bread, food and prosperity for the body, efficiency and power for the mind, wisdom and bliss for our souls. Are these things you can relate to? It's like, give us this day our daily bread. If you want Uttapam, it's fine. But so what? We know that even with 6 Uttapams, there's more things in life that we need. And so, the Master is saying, bread represents food and prosperity for the body, efficiency and power for the mind, wisdom and bliss for our souls. Give us the physical, mental, and spiritual bread, which nourishes our bodies, minds, and souls. As we forgive a brother who is indebted to us, forgive us, thy children, for our sins of not remembering our indebtedness to thee, that we owe our health, life, and soul to thee, as we were saying earlier. Lead us not into temptation, even by way of testing our little spiritual power. Leave us not in the pit of temptation, wherein we fell through the misuse of thy given reason. But if it is thy will to test us when we are stronger, then, Father, make thyself more tempting than temptation. But help us that by our own effort, through thy spiritual force, we may be free from all misery-making physical, mental, and spiritual evils. In the above words, Master now comments, Jesus says that though this earth came from divine vibration, it is not consecrated by his name or vibrations because of the wickedness of the people. As God's bliss and wisdom are the only kingly powers which exist in cosmic consciousness, so Jesus prays that those absolute powers of God may manifest in human consciousness, which is often steeped in delusion. So remember, he isn't saying that we are all impure, and Jesus is praying that we become pure. We know that we're not pure in the sense of that we have some troubles. Why? Because if we can get irritated, there's a problem. Some people will say, I have no desires. Listen, I have no desires. If we can get irritated by anything, it is a proof that we have a desire, because anger appears in the heart only when our desires are blocked. No. That, you know what? That goes on until 85. I want this, I want that, and because I have done all this, you must do that. No, I can't. It's the same thing. It's disguised in other ways. Just that I won't speak to you, or here is a lawsuit, or whatever. But it all comes down to, I didn't get what I wanted. Or what I didn't want, I did get. You see, that proves there's a desire. And I don't mean that proves we're wrong. Look, we have desires, it's okay. But it's something that we should try to understand and release. When we can't accept something, as we read in the affirmation, it's because we desire that it be different. We should understand that, introspect. Why do I desire it to be different? Usually the reason is, well, sometimes the reason is, because if this happens, then I can't be happy. But if we learn that actually I could be happy even if it happens, then we're free. And we discover that, guess what? That particular desire of mine wasn't going to make me happy one way or another if I'm happy inside. And that is the goal of the spiritual path. So, but it's easy to say and it's easy to read about. But when we have that desire, I thought I didn't have a desire, and then something happened and I got mad, and I thought, well, I'm mad. Okay, that means there's a desire. What's the desire? I didn't like it when the person spoke to me in that way. That's not a desire. That's basic human decency. That is law. It is only fair. It's not a desire. But of course it was a desire. I desire that they not speak that way to me. After all the love that I've given, after all the sweat that I have poured, you could at least be polite. No, it's a desire. And so then I went, and I felt free. Because I couldn't control the fact that they weren't polite. Believe me, I tried. Didn't work. I couldn't control the fact that they weren't kind. And what it meant to me was that there was less love in my life. Because if they could be so unkind to me, even though I loved them, it means they didn't love me, which means I didn't have love. And that was not true. Because Divine Mother's love is always there. God's love, the Master's love. We can always count on them. They're always with us. They're always sending that love. If, as Master said, we're looking in the wrong place, he said, don't seek smiles where the smiles don't come from. So don't look for, if love isn't coming, then it's just not coming here. It'll come from somewhere else, but it's always coming from here. Even if from someone else, it's only God's love through them. That's what makes our friendships holy. If we see them as God loving God. Okay. Jesus also prays that, as angels are guided by God's wisdom-guided will, so might earthly people willingly be guided by God's wisdom. Jesus prays for the threefold bread which nourishes the body, mind, and soul. Jesus also says that as we ought to forgive those of our brethren who are indebted to us, and yet forget their obligation to us, so God should forgive His children, even if they have forgotten that they owe their life and everything to Him. What is so interesting is this phrase in this prayer. If you had one question about the prayer, it should be this. Pray to God, lead us not into temptation. Pray to God, lead us not into temptation. Now, why is that a prayer? Is God thinking about leading us into temptation? Is God the one who leads us into temptation? If He's loving and trying to free us, why would He lead us down the wrong road? It doesn't quite make sense, does it? And here's the explanation. Jesus implies that God could never, like a mischievous schoolboy, lead anyone into evil or temptation. God could only allow Satan to test true devotees by way of proving them. Jesus meant, God, leave us not in temptation. Jesus meant, leave us not, and not lead us not. See, isn't it wonderful? He says, actually, it's a mistake. It should be, leave us not. How could you ever know? I could never know. I could say, yeah, I think, when Krishna says, whatever it is, Chaturvedi. He actually meant Chaturveda, which means, you can't say you can't correct Krishna, you can't correct Jesus, but remember, Jesus didn't write the Bible. It was written about him. There can be mistakes. Well, Krishna didn't write the Gita either. And so, we have it on Master's authority that Jesus meant, leave us not in temptation, not lead us not into temptation. Then it makes more sense. Because we know we've fallen into temptation at different times. We've done the wrong thing. Don't leave me here. If you fall, you say, Amma. You call. You say, help me out here. You don't say, Amma, don't lead me down into the pit. You would assume that she wouldn't lead you into the pit. She's the one always saying, be careful, and when you arrive, give me a missed call. She's always watching to make sure you're safe. Why would she throw you into a pit? Obviously, Divine Mother wouldn't do that. It doesn't make any sense because it's a mistake. It should be, leave me not in the pit that I have found myself in. Jesus prayed that the Heavenly Father deliver every soul from the enthrallment of Satan and cosmic delusion, which is evil. He prayed, we know we're in trouble, and the Masters come to help us out of that trouble. God bless you.